All right, everyone, thanks for joining us today here with Dynamo General Manager Pat Onstad. Pat, just to kick it off here, it was a busy transfer window, the biggest spend in club history here. Three big signings and one announced today as we make a push for the playoffs here. How's the team kind of shaping up now as the season's coming to an end here?
Yeah, first and foremost, thanks for coming. I appreciate it. I know the guys appreciate when they get a little bit of media attention too. So thanks for that. Our transfer window was interesting. You know, I give credit to our owner Ted Siegel. He has ambition for this club. He wants to win trophies. He wants this club to become a major player here in this market and in our league, and he invested so. So this transfer window, we spent well over $10 million on two players, a striker, Ezekiel Ponce, that we got from AEK Athens, who has fit in right away with us. He's a hard worker. When you watch him play, you can understand the grit that he has, and then we had a young player named Lawrence Anali, and I say had because I'll touch on that in a second, but came in as tremendous speed and had his breakout game against LAFC a couple of weeks ago, scored a fantastic goal, put us up 2-0, kind of put the game away, and unfortunately about 5 minutes later he tore his ACL on just an innocuous play kind of in the middle of the field, and unfortunately he'll be lost for a while for us, but we're still excited about his future as a young player, as I mentioned before. So we're really happy, I think, with what we've done in this window. And one reason, normally we kind of do a wrap up when the transfer window closes, but we had a roster freeze as a Friday, and we made one more move. We brought in Junior Moreno to give us a little more midfield depth. He's a Venezuelan international that Ben Olsen, our head coach, has worked with in the past. So it's a nice piece. And right now, I think our group is in a really good place. And for us, the goal here is to try to move forward and make the playoffs. You know, that's our. We're in 7th place. We feel we've dropped a few points that we should have maybe grabbed this year, but at the end of the day, we're starting to peak. We've taken 7 of our last 9 against some very good teams, LA and Salt Lake, and we're happy where we're positioned. Our goal is to get as high up in the table as we can. Assuming we can qualify for the playoffs, and I think we're in good shape. We're all confident here now that we're just trying to see what position we can get. This will be the second year in a row we made the playoffs, and first time that Dynamo has done this since 2013. So we're happy with our group. And then I think the last piece that I wanted to kind of share is, for those of you who've been following the team, this team now is playing an entertaining, attractive style of soccer. We keep possession. We put teams under for long periods of time. It was nice against Salt Lake. We scored 4, so we figured out the final piece. But this is a team that went into Los Angeles FC who'd lost 1 game at home. You know, was an MLS Cup finalist and won it the year before. And we dominated and I think we had 60% possession, a little over 60% possession on their field. And that's a credit to Ben Olsen and his coaching staff. He's done a fantastic job getting this team to play an attractive style of play. Helps when you have Hector Herrera, Artur, Coco Carrasquilla, Amin Bassi. You have some great guys in the midfield, but I love our group. I think we have a really good group, and this group is hungry, and they want to try to go win an MLS Cup. So it's exciting to see where we're at right now.
All right, we'll start with questions in the room. We'll start with Greg.
You've just laid out that there's a lot that's happened with this.
Yeah.
I mean, people in, people out, injuries to start the season. What in your mind has kind of held this group together and lets you be in position now where you can claim that?
Yeah, I mean, we've had some injuries, and we can talk about that too. Not just Lawrence Anali. Recently, at the beginning of the season, we had a young player, and we have a young player, Nelson Quiones, a Colombian, who we thought we were going to see great things this year from. Did his ACL in Olympic qualifying with Colombia. We've had Hector Herrera out at the beginning of the year with a knee injury. Unfortunately, he's got a mild hamstring injury. Good news is it looks like it's pretty short term, so we're pretty happy with the news on that. He should be fine, ready to go before we even hit the playoff stretch. So we've had these injuries, but I think the number one thing is we have a coach in there that does a great job of just creating a culture of next man up, and the guys all work together. So there's not a guy in that locker room when someone else gets an opportunity, everyone's pulling for that player and hoping that they can step up and be the next guy. And, it sounds easy and it's a little cliche, but I would say that my technical director, Asher Mendelson, and I, we both talk about this, but Ben Olsen's superpower is that he can keep a group together no matter what's going on around them and get the most out of the group. And I think he proved that last year. And I think this year, with all the injuries and the changes that we've had to do, international breaks, he's done a fantastic job to get us in a really good position here in the home stretch.
Last year, at this point, Pat, you thought like we were missing a center forward for the playoffs. Now you think we have the right team to push all the way?
Yeah, I mean, I like our group. I like the way we're playing. We did a really good job last year. We peaked at two periods. We kind of peaked in early September when we had our U.S. Open Cup run and won the trophy. I think we peaked at a good time, and then we somehow we had a little, not one say a lull, but we kind of regrouped and then made a great run down the playoff stretch. So this group, we didn't have a good U.S. Open Cup run, losing to Detroit. But what I would say is this team now is poised, and they want to go try to compete for the big trophy. And I'm excited with our group. I think we have the character and the personnel here to make a good run.
Go ahead, Adolfo.
Can you
Sure.
elaborate on Hector's injury and how much time do you expect him to be out?
Yeah, so he has a mild hamstring pull. I think the MRI showed we were pretty positive about it. Not a ton of bleeding in the area, so we're hoping somewhere in 2 to 3 weeks or so for him to get back to like 90 minutes fit. So we're pretty pleased with the results, considering you never know when your captain grabs his hamstring. It's never a good thing, and as you get older in your careers, you're never sure that's going to go. But hopefully he'll be ready to go. Maybe Seattle, probably the next game after that.
What does losing a guy like Hector mean for this ball, at least for the time being?
Yeah, for us, as Ben has said numerous times, we kind of go as far as Hector takes us. But I also think it's, again, when I talked about next man up, we have a pretty good player in a Panamanian international, this guy named Coco Carrasquilla, who can slip in there. And if you ask Coco, he'll tell you that's his best position, is playing as an 8 in the middle of midfield. So we're excited to see what he can do and bring. He'll bring some different things than Hector. Hector's amazing on the ball. He helps us build the ball up, keep possession. So our possession numbers might come down, but what we would expect with Coco is he's also a guy, when he turns and dribbles, he can penetrate and he can go and draw their midfielders out and then create different opportunities for us. So it'll take a few games for us to get used to it, but for Coco, it's a pretty good option B.
Hi Pat, I wanted to ask you about the promotions within the club, right? It's Houston Dynamo, those, we've seen players, we've seen coaches, right? Homegrown contracts from Dynamo, those players, and coaches moving up. So how much, we talk to Ben weekly, he's a day by day, right? But whenever we talk to you, you're a little ahead. Right? So how important is that for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think I like our roster. I like where our roster's at, and it's given us the opportunity to go out and look at some different young players. We signed a Honduran player, Exxon Arzu, who was on the second team, had a metatarsal fracture, another injury, but he's coming back from that. So we signed him. We think, he's probably another couple years away from influencing the first team. We brought in Andy Badajola from Colombia. We've just signed him. He's still not even in the building yet, but he's another couple of years. But these are young players. We have Sebastian Rodriguez, a homegrown player from our academy that's now had 2 years of second team experience. So we think these are the guys that can help build the future for us. We were fortunate. It was probably a little bit out of luck and a little bit out of who we knew down in Brazil to get Mikel dos Santos for a year in the second team. He developed very well, and we brought him into the first team, and I think he's been excellent in these last 2 years as our left center back. And those are the type of players, that's one pathway for us. And we've talked about this before, but for this club to really evolve in a city of 7.5 million people, for us to be able to go develop players just across the street here with our homegrown and our academy, and get the Sebastian Rodriguez to make an influence on our first team, not just to be on the roster, but to be a guy that's playing beside a Hector Herrera, beside an Artur, beside a Coco Carrasquilla. If we can develop that and we get to that stage of this club, that's when we know we'll be humming, and that's when I think this club will be an elite team in our league.
We'll go to Victor first.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, on the topic of Herrera, his contract is coming up, you got an option for next year. Is that something you're looking to exercise? Are you guys in ongoing talks to extend them?
Yeah, I mean, certainly not going to come and tell you the answer to that one now, but we're in discussions. His agent Gabriel Maras is very good at his job, and he's a good agent, and certainly one reason why we got the deal done in the first place. So we're in constant communication and see where we're at. But as we've told basically our entire team and their staff, we're in seventh, which is good and we're in a good position, but we also think we have a team that can go higher and push on for more. So I think everybody has a lot to play for as the season winds down, and that includes executive guys too. It's important for us to make sure that when we set this team up, that we were competing for championships. So we made the promise to ownership, and that's what Ted's backed us with his fight financially. So this last couple of months is really going to be key for all of us.
And I guess to just follow up with that
Sure.
further, how much do you see Hector being a part of this club in the future, going towards those aspirations?
That's a good question. I certainly see him being a part of the future, the near future in this year. I mean, I think, as Ben had mentioned, we're a much better team when he's on the field. We can keep possession. We can move the ball up the field, and we'll have to remains to be seen what will happen next year. He knows he's got a lot to play for and a lot to show. The nice thing is he's going to get that opportunity. I think our worry was when we saw him pull up against Salt Lake, is we were worried is that now we're going to have to make that decision based on what we have in front of us or what we have behind us, and now we can make that decision based on what's in front of us.
And then with the roster freeze that happened on September 13th, and with all the injuries that we're talking about, are you planning on possibly adding additional training sessions or possible even upgrades to the facilities in the future?
Facilities and training sessions. We'll still have a regular training session cadence as we're going forward. And then our rosters, like you said, is frozen. In terms of their facilities here, that's probably a bigger discussion with ownership in terms of what we do here. But what I would say, this facility now that, this is our home, is we have two of the best fields in the league. Our stadium field is fantastic. We have, you can see when you walk out here, a massive gym space. While it's maybe not the newest and has all the bells and whistles, it's a fantastic space for our guys to perform and develop as players. And so we love this. This is our home. So I don't think we change too much.
Just because you kind of go out and spend money doesn't always
Yeah.
result in wins. But the pieces you guys have added, do you feel like they are pieces that will help kind of climb the table?
Yeah, we do. Otherwise, we wouldn't have gone and spent the money. But what I think the money, I think you're correct in saying the money shows the ambition, I think, of ownership. Saying, okay, here's the money, go spend, go compete with a lot of the teams in the league in terms of what your spend is. I think for us, then it's about us and our analytics team and our scouting team to make sure that we go and get the right fit that fit in with our group. We work hard on that, and I think Ezekiel Ponce, what you've seen is we wanted a forward that was going to press, that was going to work hard, that was going to make it harder for other teams to get into a rhythm and keep the ball and force them to knock the ball long. And we know with Eric Shevchenko and Mikel Dos Santos and our defenders that we can win the ball back quickly, and then we're back on the ball again, and that's our strength. So I think we've shown that. Lawrence and Ali's disappointing because I think for us that was a guy that was pushing Aliou Ibrahim, another winger, and I think that was a good piece for us to either have off the bench or even in a starting position. So losing him, that does hurt us. That's probably the big one that hurts us. But in the end, it's another opportunity for a Mackenzie Gaines, a Brad Smith to see what they can do with the minutes that they'll get when Ibrahim's not available.
Going back to Hector, Pat, when he came in, you guys signed him as a big superstar, probably the biggest signing you guys have had in your
Ever,
history.
period.
Before Ponce.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you've gotten a return on your investment with Hector, and what would you like to see done in the next few months?
Yeah, I mean, I think for us, I've said before, we want to compete for trophies. So for us, it's about making a good, setting ourselves up here in the playoffs and trying to get a top four that gives us home field advantage in the first round. And trying to see if we can make a good run at the big trophies, as they call it, the MLS Cup. So I think that's important going forward. But going back to your original question in terms of Hector, I think Hector's been fantastic for us. It's put us on the map. It's made a statement that Ted's willing to invest in this club. I think his play on the field has been tremendous in terms of us kind of now having a new identity, a team that possesses the ball, a team that can tear teams apart, really. Our first goal we scored against Salt Lake, while it did come off one clearance, it was a 26-pass sequence that got us into the other penalty box, and then it broke down one touch and then a finish. So just being able to do that against teams at this level is pretty phenomenal. So he plays a massive role in that.
You guys have, I think, 6 games left in the season. When you compare this team to maybe last year, you just mentioned this is going to be the second time in over 10 years the team
Yeah.
eventually is going to make
Hopefully,
the playoffs.
yeah.
Hopefully.
Cross fingers, yeah.
It's been growing pains, for the past few years for the fans, I'm sure, as a club. What do you think has contributed to success in the
I think a lot of hard work behind the scenes. You know, a lot of hard work by technical director Asher Mendelson, from our assistant GM Nick Koba, from Ben Olson, his group. You know, there's a lot of guys. Our high performance director, our director of sports medicine, Craig Devine, Paul Caffrey. These guys have all worked very hard. And the nice thing is we've all been kind of doing this together. So that's been the fun part about it. It's been a lot of long hours, but it's been fun to be able to get this group to where we now feel we're in a sustainable position. We feel with our group moving forward that this is a playoff team, and we want to keep doing that year in, year out. And then at that stage, you know, for us, then it's about tweaking it to try to make these final pushes, which, you know, we did this summer. And I'm excited to see what this group can do here down the stretch.
Those first talks with Hector's agent, you feel the other side like it's leaning towards staying in Houston?
I know Hector loves Houston. He loves it here. I think he's shown that. His son's in our academy, for example. His daughter takes gymnastic lessons here. They're really ingrained in the community. They love the city. So I know he would like to stay here and stuff, but I think in the end it's going to come down to see on performance and where we can both agree if this is the right fit for him and for our club. But we know Hector has given everything for this club, and he'll continue to do so until the final whistle of the final game this year.
One more, speaking of like Hector's daughter being in the academy, do you have any comments to those who say the girls' game is irrelevant?
Oh, sorry, Hector's son is in the academy. Did I say his daughter? Sorry, his son's in the academy.
Okay,
We don't, my role here is just with the men's side of the game. So,
yes.
yeah, there's equivalent that's on the, well, not equivalent in place right now, but there's equivalent on the dash side, right?
But knowing that you're so ingrained in soccer and the history
Mm-hmm.
of this camp, I met you back at Robertson Stadium.
Oh,
Many, many years
wow.
ago.
I didn't have any
and
gray hair
having
back
an
then.
opinion- Yeah, I know, me neither. Having an opinion on whether the girls' game is relevant.
Irrelevant?
Yeah, the fans say that you would say, asking you would be like asking BP about Southwest, that you would have absolutely
Sorry, I don't get
nothing to say about it.
No, I wouldn't have nothing to say about it. My daughter played soccer for 14 years, something like that. No, so I wouldn't have anything to say about it. And Alex Singer, who was the GM here and stuff, we had a very good relationship. No, I think you can see the sport has taken off. It's and it's fun to watch. And I get a little bit, probably more information than most, and knowing how that team operates and what they're trying to do. And I know it's been a frustrating year, I think, for everybody over there, but they're trying to do the right things, and we'll see where it goes. But the women's game is taken off, and I enjoy watching it as much as anyone else.
You guys made it. What's the expectation for ownership and as a team that you guys this year hopefully continue to make playoff push? Last year you guys made it to the final of the Western Conference. Potentially go beyond that kind of.
Yeah, I mean, we'd love to. That's our goal. I mean, our goal at this stage is to go try to win a trophy. And there's only one trophy left, so that's a MLS Cup. We'll see how it is. So I think, like I said before, this team is poised to make a good run. But I'm sure there's another 7 or 8 CSOs that are sitting at the same table right now and saying the exact same thing about their team. So we'll see how it goes. But I'm excited. You know, we've for the first time in a long time with this club, we've actually learned how to win on the road, which is nice. So we have some confidence going into these games that we can, no matter where we play, that we can try to get a result.
On the topic of youth development, Pat, where do you evaluate the Dynamo Academy, the integration with the first team, and how long do you think it is to where we start seeing Houston products play meaningful minutes to where maybe you guys don't have to buy as many in Ollie or Brooklyn, right?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. Although technically Brooklyn's a homegrown player, but you're right. See, we'd have to go buy him. So I think we're progressing is probably the better way to say it. I think we've gotten, certainly since when I first arrived here 3 years ago, I think now we're in a position where you can see, when you go watch your second team games, and I know you've seen some of them, there are players in there where you look at and say, that guy could be an MLS player. I think in the past, the first year I got here, you kind of looked at the group and we recruited other guys in just to try to make us a competitive group. This year, we've had 3 games left, so I think we have 25 games. I believe, I could be off by 1 or 2. We've had the youngest lineup on the field for 20 out of those 25 games, roughly. And what we've done is we've been committed to playing the academy players. And I think what we'll see, I don't think we'll see it next year, but I think what we'll see over time is that'll make a big difference for Matteo Di Marilli, who's been playing, as I talked about Sebastian Rodriguez, for these young kids to be able to get opportunities to play at that level will only help them move forward. Lucas Brugman, who just scored the other day, and unfortunately a 3-1 loss, but his first ever pro goal. And these are kids that are still in the academy. But we're hoping as these kids move along and they get older and they now hit 16, 17, that they'll be able to push through. But do I have a time frame? No, but I do think we're probably still a year or 2 away. But the progress we've made, especially over maybe the last 18 months, has been astronomical.
Maybe as a follow-up, what's been the hurdle there from moving them from Dynamo 2 to Dynamo 1? You've had some guys perform in Dynamo 2, but maybe like Asilla, for example, when you guys are maybe lacking goals in the first team, we don't see that progression upwards, or going back to a Juan Castilla or a Beto Avila, maybe what went wrong there?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to get individually into it because I think we could talk about all 3 of them, but and Silla's still here and he's still got opportunity, but he's also not a homegrown player, so I'd rather talk about the homegrown players. I think for us, it's twofold. One is recruitment. Are we recruiting the best players in the city? Do we have the support of the local clubs? I think 2 years ago when we left the youth business and got out of the Dynamo Dash youth business and dropped that affiliation, I think that helped a lot. What we found is a lot of other clubs are now willing to say, hey, well, listen, we have a player here you should take a look at. That's gone a long way for us, and it means a lot to our club when we've had other clubs step up and say, hey, we're willing to help now. Whereas before, I don't necessarily think they did that, and I don't blame them because we were competing against them. So that's one. And then number 2, I think for us, is the pathway going through the second team. As I mentioned, the first year, this is the 3rd year we've had the second team. And in the first year, we didn't have a ton of academy players that we felt could play at that level, and we recruited players from outside that really weren't going to be MLS players. And I think that year, we sat back and said, what are we doing? If we're going to try to push our academy guys through, we've got to give opportunities to them. And I think what we've done, and I'm going to be terrible with Isaac's last name, but we thought he's a 15-year-old, now 16-year-old, who's played right center back, has played almost predominantly every minute this year. We actually thought we'd just give him an opportunity and see how he does. And what we realized, he was a guy that I think for us this year, we really learned that we can still be competitive and these guys can still develop by playing him and putting him in those opportunities and giving them that pressure and allow them to make mistakes and allow them to learn from those mistakes at that level and move forward. And I think for us, that second team is going to be key to us now being able to get these guys into the first team. And it's going to be opportunity. We're going to have Ben's going to have to step up and give some chances to guys, when maybe he's not 100% sure if they can do it. But I know he's done it in the past. I think Brooklyn Reigns is a good example this year. I think we weren't sure where he'd go this year, and he's established himself probably as roughly a third or fourth central midfielder, depending if we drop down. And we weren't sure if he was ready for that. He's still a 19-year-old kid. So I think there's going to be opportunities here for our guys moving forward.
All right, maybe time for one more. Anything on the
Charlie's
team?
long-winded. Apologize.
All right, Orde, we'll wrap it up here, then we got to bring Ben in.
We want to switch back to the first team side. 6 games left, like I said. Just what are the expectations for the rest of the season? Obviously, make the postseason is what the team would want, and then going forward, planning for the next season.
Yeah, a big one for us is to finish as high as we can in the regular season with the 6 games, 3 at home, 3 away. Thankfully, we won our last home game. This year was funny. We've had a strange home record. We haven't scored a ton of goals at home, so it was nice to kind of get that off our back. But for us, I think the big one here is to finish up as high as we can. Our goal is to try to finish in the top 4. That gives you home field advantage in the first round. We're 3 points out of there, but at the end of the day, these teams ahead of us are doing pretty well too. So we got to chase them and got to beat some teams, and nothing like trying to do that tomorrow night against Vancouver.